You commented that every research lab is in a way a startup.
Yeah.
You elaborate a bit more on this.
Yes, I read a couple of books about startups, this lean startup and a guy from PayPal, Thiel, I think, or Thiele. And I realized when I read these books that actually this is like explaining how research labs work. First of all, a principal investigator, so even assistant professor or associate or full professor, it's already something bigger, right? But everyone is a little bit like a CEO of own small startup. Let's say PhD students, like standard employees, and there are master students, bachelor students, like interns, because it's a short-term project. The whole environment is extremely dynamic. So the dynamics is super high, right? It's something like all the time something happens. The funding is really low and you fight for funds. So the CEO, let's say, needs to write grants to get something, right? In general, academia is extremely competitive ecosystem. So it's something like we want to achieve something, and maybe a startup has a clear goal to get money at the end. The research lab / startup, of course, maybe aims for getting more good papers, more citations, and some funding money, but altogether extremely competitive. Like with startups, you cannot plan these 3 projects and have a lot of time, flux of money coming in, so we are secured. No, you need to have a vision, that's for sure, but you need to react very quickly. Like, this minimum viable product. It's also how we should acting papers. You have some idea, you don't go, okay, now I solve AI. You have to cut it into smaller pieces, try to do this, and maybe you get everything together. You have some working product, and then you can replace this block with something better, some better model. This is a paper, then you replace something else with another. So it's another paper, then you do these things two together, and so on, so on. So I think that a lot of these analogies we can really draw. So this is definitely in AI field. I'm pretty sure that this day we read about Claude Shannon sitting in Bell Labs and working on his information theory, or Einstein, walking in flip-flop. I think these days are gone for AI for sure. You know very well how high the pressure is, and to publish papers, only top-tier conferences, only highly impact journals. To me, it's like really working in a startup. It's like fighting every day to get better and better. There is no something like, okay, now I can sit down, take a pipe, coffee, and think about the future or philosophy. You must be super well organized.
Kind of, we have to throw everything to actually make our idea happen and happen.
Precisely. Yeah.
So then, would you say, like, with the experience of being in academia, even just like for a few years as a PhD student, it actually gives us lots of context or the training if we want to actually do a startup in the future?
I think so, yes. So probably you see why I'm saying that it would be nice to go to a company before and then joining PhD, because of course the difference is that in your PhD you are focused on publishing or doing some real research, so you don't need to do some extra stuff. You don't need to polish your code. We always finish at the stage of prototyping. We don't need to make these next steps. That's why we are so efficient at doing research, right? So yes, so I think that if someone is so goal oriented and knows that, okay, I want to earn millions. So I think that this is not a bad idea to actually work a little bit somewhere, go for these studies, get into the network. So jump in and shake hands if you can. Of course, these days it's impossible, but go to conferences, try to talk to everyone. Invite them on LinkedIn and try to build a network, and then finish your PhD. You have a proof that you're a researcher, true researcher, scientist. And then you can start earning millions, I think. And of course, a perfectly fine path is to go for a postdoc and continue academic career.